Mary's room is a famous thought experiment in philosophy of mind, first proposed by Australian philosopher Frank Jackson in 1982. It challenges the idea that all knowledge is physical, a view called physicalism. The premise is this: Mary is a brilliant scientist who has lived her whole life in a black and white room. She knows everything, and we mean everything about color, the physics, biology, and neuroscience of how we see it. But she's never actually seen color herself. Then one day, she steps out of the room and sees the color red for the very first time. The question is simple but disturbing. Does she learn something new? Or did she already know everything? If she learns something new, then knowledge isn't just data. It's something more, something deeper, something that physical science can't explain. Now it's your turn to step inside. Are you ready to take the test? You know what love is. You've read the psychology of it, watched the movies, you've heard the songs. All Too Well by Taylor Swift, I Don't Love You by My Chemical Romance. You memorized the lyrics, felt the lump in your throat at 1 a.m., maybe even cried into a pillow over someone who wasn't yours. You've seen it in others, and maybe once you thought you felt it too. But this is different. Their voice in your ear, the brush of their fingers, the terrifying joy of being seen. And suddenly, your chest aches, your breath shortens, the world sharpens, all at once, because now you're in it. You knew what love was, but now you feel it. And when they leave, when the silence sets in, and I Don't Love You starts to sound personal, you realize you didn't just lose someone. You gained something no book could teach you. Did you just learn something new? Or was it always there, waiting to hurt you? If you had the chance, would you choose to feel it again? Even knowing how much it would destroy you? What would you do? You were safe, you were certain. You understood love as a pattern, a hormone rush, a neural feedback loop. Oxytocin, dopamine, limbic system. You knew it all. You had studied it like a science, observed it like a biologist behind glass. You were doing fine before this person came along. At least, you told yourself you were. You had routines, coping mechanisms. The walls were so high, even you forgot what they were hiding. And then, it happened to you. They smiled at you like no one ever had, asked you how you really were, and stayed to hear the answer. They didn't save you, but they made the world less sharp. Suddenly, food had flavor again. Music had color. Logic collapsed. Routines shattered. The world turned red. The future? It wasn't so terrifying anymore. It was theirs. You memorized the way they said your name. You counted the seconds between their texts. You built your life around moments, and you might see them again. You felt alive yet terrified, even vulnerable. You felt like you might die from how much you wanted them to stay. And even if they didn't love you back, even if they never saw you the same way, you stayed. Because that feeling, that unbearable, beautiful, aching feeling, was better than anything you'd ever known. It didn't matter if they were yours. It mattered that they existed. And when they left, whether by choice or by distance or by silence, you didn't just lose them. You lost the version of yourself that believed things could be okay. You mourned a future that would never come. And still, you couldn't hate them for it. You had read about heartbreak. You thought you understood it. But nothing prepares you for how quiet the world becomes when the one voice you crave goes silent. You didn't learn a new fact. You learned what it means to need someone more than they ever needed you. And you wonder, was it worth it? Be honest, what would you have done? If you knew loving them would change you, tear something open inside you, and maybe never heal, would you still let yourself fall? Is love something you can understand from the outside, or something that has to break you to mean anything at all? Would you trade safety for something that might leave you crying over someone who never even looked back? Sit with that, and if you're brave enough, tell us in the comments. Would you choose to feel it, knowing how badly it might end? You thought you understood love. You knew the theories, what hormones were firing, what attachment styles did you lean toward, what your childhood said about your capacity to bond. But then it happened. Not in a textbook, not in a safe, controlled environment. It happened in a 2 a.m. text that made your chest tighten. In the way they looked at you across a crowded room like you were the only real thing in it. In the seconds after your first fight, when you sat shaking, realizing their silence hurt more than any scream ever could. You didn't just understand love. You were consumed by it. That is qualia. It's not a fact. It's not data. It's not something you can Google, memorize, or explain. It's the raw, bleeding edge of human experience. The things you can't share, even with the people you love most. Because some feelings don't survive translation. You didn't gain new knowledge. You gained a scar. A private, invisible truth that no one else can fully see. And maybe that's the moment you became real. They tell you love is chemistry, that your heartbreak is just your amygdala misfiring, that the ache in your chest is cortisol, the euphoria, dopamine, the longing, a trick of oxytocin designed to keep you from walking away too soon. And maybe they're right. Maybe you didn't fall in love. Maybe you were programmed to bond. Maybe every glance, every thrill, every song that made you sob on the floor was just your brain doing what it was built to do. A stimulus, a response. No magic, no mystery, just meat and electricity. But if that's true, why did it feel like you were dying when they left? Why did your world fall apart over someone who wasn't even yours to lose? Why does your heart still grip itself when you hear their name in a crowded room? If love is just biology, why does it haunt? Physicalism says there is nothing beyond the physical. Everything can be measured, mapped, and replicated. But some things feel like they come from somewhere deeper. Somewhere science hasn't touched. So ask yourself, was it just chemicals? Or was it you? And if it was just your brain, does that make it any less real? Or does it make you wonder if your entire life has been lived inside a beautiful, biologically inevitable illusion? You thought you understood love. You listened to your friends' stories. You watched people fall apart and rebuild. You offered advice. You thought that was empathy. And then it happened to you. Maybe it was beautiful. Maybe it was messy. Maybe it ended quickly or shattered you without warning. But once it lived inside you, everything changed. You began to understand why people stay when they shouldn't. Why they send texts they'll regret. Why they cry at stupid songs. Or pray for one more second even when the love is gone. You felt it in your body, in the spaces they used to fill, in the way your heart shifted, like a home they once lived in and now only echo through. People tried to relate. Some meant it, some meant well, but you saw it in their eyes. They didn't really get it. They hadn't been there. Not in the exact way you had. Because love doesn't leave the same scar twice. Even those who love deeply carry different maps of grief, different definitions of forever. You realize something quietly devastating. Empathy can get close, but it never quite arrives. Because no one else felt your joy the moment their hand found yours. No one else felt your gut drop when they said goodbye. No one else remembers that moment, when they looked at you like you were their whole world, and then didn't. Even the happiest love holds a piece of you that can't be explained. Not really. So now you wonder, when we say, I understand, are we trying to connect? Or just hoping someone believes we can? You knew it could end. Everyone does. We all enter love knowing it comes with no guarantees. People change. Life shifts. Hearts break. Sometimes slowly, sometimes all at once. And still, you jumped. Maybe you told yourself you were strong enough, smart enough, detached enough. But then one day, you woke up and their toothbrush was in there. The playlists hurt, and even your own reflection looked unfamiliar. Like you had loved someone so hard, you blurred the edges of yourself to make room for them. And now they're gone. And the question that echoes louder than silence is, was it worth it? Would you do it again? Would you hold their hand knowing exactly how it would end? Would you let them into the deepest parts of you, knowing they might not stay? Would you smile through the early morning light and say, I love you, even if those same lips would one day say goodbye? This is the hedonic gamble, to feel something extraordinary at the risk of losing everything familiar. Pleasure with pain, ecstasy with grief, love with the possibility of complete emotional ruin. And you took that gamble. Maybe you're still taking it. Maybe you're still hoping they'll come back. Or maybe you've already begun to forget their voice. Not on purpose. It just happens eventually. But here's the truth. To never feel pain is to never risk love. To never risk love is to never feel alive. So you tell yourself, yes, it was worth it, even if it left you bleeding in silence after they stopped saying your name. Because if love taught you anything, it's that feeling deeply, even when it wrecks you, is better than feeling nothing at all. But maybe the hardest part isn't the pain. It's the question that lingers after. Would you still choose it if you had known how much it would hurt? Let's change the conditions, just slightly, just enough to make you wonder. What if you could erase the memory of them completely? No pain, no longing, no flashbacks at 2 a.m. when your chest tightens for no reason. But also, no memory of their laugh, no recollection of what their eyes looked like when they looked at you. Would you delete the wound if it meant deleting the warmth too? Would you still choose to feel it? What if they loved you back, but you both knew it wouldn't last? A deadline built into the beginning. 6 months, 1 year, then goodbye. No anger, no betrayal, just time. would you still let yourself fall, knowing you'd eventually have to let go? Would knowing the end ruin the middle, or make it more precious? Let that one sting. What if you loved someone who hurt you, but they were the only ones who ever made you feel real? They weren't cruel, just careless, inconsistent. They never meant to break you, but they did. Would you take the love knowing it would come wrapped in confusion and tears? Would you rather feel something deep but damaging than feel nothing at all? Does your answer shift? And finally, what if they never loved you at all and you only thought they did? Everything you felt was yours alone. The glances, misread. The closeness, coincidence. The moments you replay at night, only meaningful to you. Would you still call it love, even if it only ever existed on your side of the story? And be honest, would you still want to have felt it? Love, like color, can't be fully understood until you stood inside it, been blinded by it, wrecked by it, changed by it. So tell us, are you still in the room? Or did you already step outside and just never found your way back? Maybe Mary's room was never really about color. Maybe it's about all the things we think we understand until we feel them. Grief, desire, longing, love. You can study them, explain them, map them down to neurons and blood chemistry. But none of that prepares you for the weight in your throat when someone you love walks away. Or the way their name can still stop your heart, even months after they've forgotten yours. You can read all the right books, say all the right things, protect yourself with knowledge like armor. But the moment love takes hold of you, you'll realize you've been living in grayscale. Safe, controlled, colorless. And once you've felt it, truly felt it, you can't go back. Not really. Because now, you know there's a part of life that can't be taught, only survived. So maybe Mary's room isn't a room at all. Maybe it's the part of you that still believes you can understand love without letting it destroy you first. And maybe that's the choice. To stay safe in theory or step into the world and bleed in color. Which one did you choose? Step deeper into the unthinkable room. If these questions haunt you, stay with us. The shadows are endless.